Whoa, that's angry. Are you here for something? Oh, must be the Hot 99ish. Good. You're in the right place. It's a Hot 99ish brought to you by Phone Sites. You can build a landing site or web page in 5 minutes or less. All you have to do is go to phonesites.com, and that's it. That's all you got to do. Tonight's guest is Brodie Kern, and Brodie is no stranger to the coaching scene or the coaching game, and he's one of our newest members in Apex. And Brodie, we're so glad to have you here. Tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from and what you do and what makes you tick, tick, tock.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's an honor to be here. I, love contributing to communities that I'm a part of, and it's very exciting to get onboarded with Apex, start to meet some of that community, and really be involved in your guys' mission. And so diving into a little bit about who I am, what I'm about, the best place to really start my story is about 6.5, 7 years ago. So I'm 27 years old now, and I've been in business for myself for about 5, 6 years. But prior to that, I have a super gnarly past with addiction. So from the age of 18 to 21, I struggled really, really bad with substance abuse, had, substance abuse in my family and in my upbringing. And it was something that I took on. In the year that I was 21, I actually overdosed 6 times, ultimately checking myself into a rehab facility. And that was kind of the catalyst for me for personal development and personal growth. You know what I mean? Like I was a guy who I really struggled to deal with life on life's terms, and I had nowhere else to go. And so, there being forced to do the inner work on myself to truly just even get to a baseline level as a productive member of society who could, just simply make it a couple days without using drugs or alcohol, it was a huge win for me. Right. And so then what happened with me is here I am. I had just dropped out of college to go to rehab. I'm this college dropout junkie, and I was totally unemployable. And so from there, I got into the real estate space because there was a super low barrier to entry, and I had nowhere else to go. It was sink or swim for me inside of my life. And, from there, I went on to build that business up a little bit, wasn't fulfilled, went to another business, and was reaching the level of financial success that I always wanted. But I was still unfulfilled. I had this hole in me, and, I was letting other areas of my life suffer just to continue to make more and more income and feel like I was bigger and better and validate myself. And none of it really got the job done. And so in mid 2018, I was getting married. My fiance, now wife, was pregnant with our son, Cruz. And I had to take a step back and say, what do I want my life to become? And so when I really took a hard look at what did I enjoy? Well, I enjoyed, functions of business, and I enjoyed leading people, and I enjoyed working with men inside of the program of AA, helping them get sober. And that's not something that you monetize. It's something that you give back and you continue to do in order to reintegrate your sobriety. I've now been sober for years, but when I said, how do I bring all of these worlds together? I made the decision to just kind of dabble in coaching some entrepreneurs, coaching some men in business. And it was something that I really had a knack for. It really gave me that level of fulfillment that I was looking for. And over the last 2 years, we've grown it into an awesome company. We've coached over 250 guys. We run live events, and it's truly a great experience of life.
So let's go back to a couple of things, and I love that you shared that. I know you've done this quite a bit, and you can tell Brodie is no newbie when it comes to this. But there are a couple of things you said. You said you kept trying to find the bigger and better thing, that hole. What was that hole that you were trying to fill?
Well, so for me, it was like I had to break down a lot of what had gone on in my past, and my parents were 17 when they had me. Both of them were. And so, for the better part of my life, we grew up pretty poor, as I'm sure a lot of people watching this video. And I thought that money was going to solve all my problems. I thought that, okay, if I can just create a life where a lack of money was not in the picture, then everything would be fine. And what I came to find out is that really the money at all, like, it didn't contribute to whether I felt worthy or whether I felt enough. It just amplified whatever was going on inside of me at that time, right? And so if I was depressed, I was stressed out, I wasn't taking care of my body, I wasn't showing up powerfully in my relationship, you know, a lack of money or having money didn't really change any of those things, right? I thought and acted from the state in which I was in, and the state in which I was in was constantly looking for more and more and more, reinforcing the idea that I didn't have what I needed to feel whole. And so when I stopped searching for more and understanding that, hey, you know, my ability to feel happy and feel fulfilled is derived from, you know, the things that are already in my life and how I show up in the world, I started to fill that hole. But the hole that was missing there, I created a hole by looking outside of myself for more, when in reality I had everything that I needed to fill it.
So that's a good. I love that you shared that too, because there are a lot of people that have struggled with addiction. Some of them still are. You know, some might be in denial. Some might think, and this is the ego too, saying you don't need that. You're too good for that. You're a strong man. You can handle this shit on your own. But like ODing 6 times, I mean, that's a pretty significant number of times. And it's not to focus on the negative stuff, but man, you're lucky. Like some people, like I think Stimming hit it once and then he was out. Like he was done. Like his card was punched and they brought him back. So, you know, what do you think was the saving grace for you on that? And what was your baseline when you had to climb out of that spot?
Yeah, you know, and that's a great question, because it's like, and dude, I mean, I am tremendously lucky. I was telling someone yesterday, you know, part of being in recovery and, you know, being on the path that I'm on, I've lost 2 friends this year, and I think I will likely continue at that pace indefinitely. Part of the game is people lose their lives to addiction. They destroy their lives. They end up in jail. They end up dead. Their families are ruined. Like it is a destructive path for sure. And all of that, you know, I look back, really led me to who I am now. I wouldn't change those experiences for the world, but it's like, yeah, back then, dude, that is truly one of the worst experiences of life that someone can live. And so that year, you know, it started out with like ending up in the hospital from drinking, overdosing on hard drugs. And then like every single time it would happen. And I would say, you know what, okay, this time I'm going to get my shit together. And the last, you know, run that I went on, I ended up, you know, waking up in the hospital 3 days in a row. And on the 3rd day, I checked myself into a rehab facility. And really, I should have done it long before that. I had been having seizures and things for, you know, years. And for someone who was 20, 21 years old, this was not common.
So what kind of work were you doing during that time?
Well, I was in school at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was so young. So, you know, I grew up in I'm a Midwest guy. I grew up in Springfield, Missouri. I was going to college at the University of Missouri. And, you know, while this was happening, like all my friends were like, you know, pretty focused. They were getting internships, getting jobs. And I was just spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. And ended up going to rehab. And then when I got out, I, you know, got a job at a restaurant to get on my feet while I decided to get my real estate license.
Okay. That's good. I love it. I appreciate you sharing that, man. I know that stuff is not fun sometimes to view, to look back and but it
totally, man. I mean, look, and I think there's a lesson there for anyone, right? Like in no way am I ashamed of the path that I took. And I think it's important for everyone listening to this to understand that, like, you have to own your story, for better or for worse. And everything that has happened, like, life presents you the obstacles that you need to go through, right? Whatever you were going, life does not present you things that you were not capable of overcoming, right? It's why it's never the end of the world. You always figure it out. And that's because life delivers you exactly what you need to grow in that moment. And for me, I needed a lot of hard lessons to develop into someone who could lead other individuals, right? And like, I was on that path, life constantly delivering me that shit that led me closer and closer to where, you know, I needed to get and where I wanted to get. At that time, I didn't know that's what I wanted, but it was all leading me up to that moment, right? And so it's important to ask yourself, hey, positive or negative, what are some of the defining moments in my life? So what are some of the biggest challenges or obstacles that I've had to face and overcome? And what did I learn about myself in those times?
I love that. I love that, man. I love it. You just put it perfectly too. Now that you're a dad too, knowing what you know, because you've already gone through it. You basically got your education. You got your postdoctorate degree in life. So now that Cruz is here, like, what do you tell him?
Man, so he just turned 2 years old, and if I'm being honest, I am terrified. I am terrified. But when I break down the psychology of what caused me to sedate and what caused me to hide from my thoughts in the world, you know, you mentioned it earlier, a lot of it is a function of ego. And I think that if I lead my life and show up powerfully inside of my family and teach my son the right things about ego and how to manage his emotions and how to view the world, that we should be able to, you know, sidestep some of those potential challenges. But the reality is it could always happen. All that you can do is love that fucking kid and hope for the best, because that's what lacked when I was a child, and it's the only thing I can hope to provide is true love to him.
Yeah, you've already broken the cycle too, man. I mean, that, like, he's probably got a head start on where you were, you know, just because of
100%.
So I love that too. And let's talk about this too, because I think a lot of people, what happens is, you know, we go to ugly places sometimes. We go through our experiences. We go through the things that were destined for us to learn, like you said earlier. But sometimes on the back end, we come out. It's kind of like money being a magnifier of who a human being is, right? So who you are when you had no money sometimes changes when you do have money, or when you want to completely separate or dissect yourself from your past. Sometimes you become somebody that's not somebody that has helping hands, the same ones that helped you. So how do you maintain that balance in ego and maintain that balance in contributing?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, right? And it's like the way that I view it is I don't really separate myself from my past, right? Like that is a timeline on my journey, right? And my current self now could not exist without that past self. And so it's like you have to really own and appreciate who you were at that time and understand the development that happened, right? Like if I was simply like, hey, I don't appreciate anything from that time, and I'm completely separating myself from who I was then. And yeah, my habits were terrible. I didn't treat people well in my addiction, but it was like, those were all things that led up until this moment. And so even in the present, when negative things are happening or those obstacles or challenges are in front of you, it's like, I have to try to express gratitude for that, because I know the lesson that is going to come out of it, because I've been at a challenge before where I thought, holy shit, like this seems insurmountable.
I love that, man. I love that. Just so much wisdom. And it's amazing too sometimes, because you know, we take those things for granted, you know, and it's if you really look back, and I'm sure you don't want to, like, and you don't have to talk about this if you don't want to, but looking back, how many people have you prevented from going down that path?
Oh, a ton, dude, a ton, through my platform and me being, but that's why I so openly share my story and everything that happened to me. That's why it is the first thing that I talk about inside of my story, not only because it is the start of my story and the best place to really begin, you know, telling it, but also because I like to highlight the fact that I'm not some special individual, right? I've been to a very, very dark place. And when I lead vulnerably and transparently and put myself out there, it gives other people permission to do the same, to take a bet on themselves, to get help, and then to truly believe that, hey, they can become more, they can become something special, they can be leading other individuals regardless of where they're at now with enough work and intention. And so I would have never done that had I not seen other people do it, had other people not given me permission to do so. And permission comes in a lot of different forms, right? It comes right now on this video, me saying, hey, you don't need anyone's permission to change your life. You don't need anyone's permission to think more of yourself, to build yourself up. You don't need anyone's permission to go get help, right? Permission can come in a ton of different ways. And it's something that I find often people are looking for when in reality, they can give it to themselves.
Yeah. We have everything we need. Like what you said in the beginning, like everything you need, you have right here. It's right here, and it always works the way out. It's nature, right? It's nature. So
totally.
Let's switch directions, and I want to kind of look at like where you are today. So we've established a past, and what are things like? There's always something more. You've got your coaching platform. You've helped hundreds of people, all right, to date, and probably more than that, because there's always a ripple effect, because you assume for every person you help, there's another 10 people that they're going to help because of something that you told them they stuck, right? So let's call it thousands at this point. It's just the magic of the universe. But what are the things that are getting you excited right now? Like, what are you getting out of bed? There's always something next. What's more? Like there's that run, that mad dash for something more. What is that?
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's like, think back to when I said I started out coaching, I started dabbling in it, right? I started saying, hey, is this something that, could work out for me as a career path that, allowed me to make a great income, help a lot of people, and also gave me that level of fulfillment that I was looking for. And there's been an insane amount of very frustrating challenges in building this business because it's very unique, and there's a lot of things that, I was not equipped for at the time. But it's like, as you scale any company to the 7-figure level, and then now shooting for the multiple 7-figure, it's like, dude, there's excitement that happens, because there was a time when it was just me prospecting and closing deals, right? And here now we have this team of 15, and I'm watching, my guys build lives for themselves inside of the company. Right? Inside of the company, not just in our community of people that we coach and them leading their businesses and their families and showing up powerfully there. But here we are creating opportunity for people to provide for their families. And like, I think that is the most exciting thing for me right now, is like, because my day to day is much different than it used to be. It is not all just prospecting, closing deals, serving clients. A lot of it is development of the team and in the humans that make up the team. And it is very, very exciting work. It's something that's relatively new to me over the last few months. And, it puts you in that uncomfortable state. It makes you question yourself. And that's what it's all about, is reaching that state over and over and over, where you say, holy shit, am I capable of this? Am I ready for this? But remember what I said earlier, life only presents you stuff that it knows you are ready for, right? And so you just keep scaling up and scaling up and scaling up who you are at here, and watching how the results happen in your life and your business and your family and the people in your company and all of the shit going on, right? It's truly, truly special. And so, in the granular, what am I most excited about right now? It's building my team, right? But when I look forward, it's helping through the ripple effect, getting this way of life that I teach in the hands of as many men as humanly possible.
I love that. You talk about building the team, and so there are a lot of lessons we learned on that. And that's a constantly shifting journey too, especially, hiring and firing. And nobody likes that. They always say, hire slow, fire fast. But I love what you said about people building inside your ecosystem. They're building their kingdoms inside of the kingdom. And that's something Stuman talks about a lot. It's like, I think the mental shift for a lot of people, especially if you're in your 40s, you're not, but like there are a lot of people my age and probably like in their late 30s that they come from the 9-to-5 mindset. So you think that, well, when you're done with a job or done working for one person, that you have to completely sever ties or disassociate. So
sure.
How do you manage like the scarcity behind, people building their stuff up? And are you worried about them leaving, especially if they're serving a very key element of your team or key part of your team? Or is that like, how do you manage that at this point?
Absolutely. That's a tremendous question, because it's like you battle with that internally, right? And when I look at, hey, who am I and what do I care about? Well, I've devoted my entire life to serving men at a high level and helping them create a greater experience of life. And so I think without doubt, this applies to any company, but especially with who I am and what I believe myself to be and what I believe myself to be about. If I hire talent and develop talent and they want more out of their life, I literally cannot complain, because that's what I set up the entire thing to do, right? Is to help them generate opportunity for themselves and grow, right? And the unfortunate truth is, especially at this company, but at any company, people will outgrow the company. And when people reach a baseline level of competence and confidence, they are going to want to go out and start their own thing. And it is a leader's job to aid them in doing so, right? And if you have a healthy relationship with this employee and you manage that stuff effectively throughout your time together, they're not going to leave you with your dick in your hand, right? They're going to help you find someone. They're going to help you train someone. And yeah, it's never fun to lose a team member, but if you start to really handcuff them and make it hard for them to create more opportunity in their life, not only are they not going to serve you here, but you're out of alignment with why you got into business in the first place, which is to create opportunity and help people.
Yeah, I love that. And listen, if you're an employee watching this, if maybe you're going through that process right now, you think you're smarter than the guy running the show where you are, the woman running the show where you are, remember that relationships are so important, because you never know who you're going to have to call in the future. You're never going to know like who's going to have to be your lifeline. It may be that person that helped you get to that place, the one that took the punches and, you know, hired you onto their team. So, and we see that a lot too. It's like people, you know, they want to try to leave bad, but you don't have to leave bad because of the very thing that Brodie just shared with you. There are people that you can work with and work for in their companies as an entrepreneur or an employee to help build them up. And you can still have a good relationship. They're far and few in between, but I can tell you that if you pay attention and really interview the person that you're going to go work for, you can have a very powerful and dynamic network of people. And that's what it's all about. So I love that you shared that, man. I really, really appreciate you sharing that. So it sounds like you're building a hell of a culture there too at your company. So no, managing 15 people is no easy task or feat. So it's like being married to 15 people, and then you have to think about their families too, you know?
It absolutely is.
Yeah, that's a heavy responsibility to accept, but that's why you're a leader. So let's switch into the G code. So I want to talk about that, and that's kind of brand new. You know, we follow that here in Apex, but we'll kind of break it down category by category. And so let's go ahead and start with gratitude and what that encompasses for you. You know, who are you grateful for? What are you grateful for? What gets you back into alignment? You mentioned alignment. You know, when you hit a brick wall, like how do you snap yourself back out?
Yeah, absolutely. And so like, dude, the thing that I like about G code is it's like, in a lot of what we teach is this way, right? Like it's the simple things that are incredibly effective that people overlook because they seem too simple, right? If you're all spun out, if you're all fucked up in the head, if your ego is blatantly coming in and causing you to be out of alignment and it's not serving you, right? A quick fix at any time, no matter how dumb it seems, is like focusing on gratitude, making a basic ass gratitude list. It was one of the first things that I learned in sobriety. Because when you do that, when you start to recognize everything in your life that you appreciate and that you are grateful for, you literally change the way that your body is functioning at a cellular level, right? At an energetic level. And then how you get back into alignment, I said this earlier, you think from the state in which you were in. So if energetically, your body is totally aligned with, hey, we have everything that we need and we appreciate the life that we have, it's going to attract more abundance in your life. You're going to have more abundant thoughts, which are going to lead to more abundant actions all the time. And so making that part of your daily practice is imperative to actually creating success. Because people who are thinking about how fucking little they have in their life don't ever actually get shit into their life. They just continue to play the victim and beat themselves up about it, right? I don't care how bad your situation is. Trust me, I have been in terrible places. We talked about them. No matter how bad your life is, there is some stuff that you can appreciate. How about being alive? How about being every second your heart is beating and millions of things are happening inside of your body so that you can experience life and have opportunity to create something worth living, right? You don't have to do anything for that. There is always something to be grateful for.
Amen. Amen. I love that. So with that said, I know there's always some physical activity that's required to get you back into a state of gratitude. I know for me, working out, gets me going, gets the blood pumping, but diet and exercise makes a huge difference. Love cake, but let's talk about genetics. Like, what does your genetics look like? I mean, you're tatted and ripped and cut up. I think a lot of people are now going that way. There's not too many people you can find on the street that are, battling with obesity anymore, because from what I see, I just see a lot of physically fit people. But what do you do to keep your mind sharp and keep your body in tip-top performance?
Yeah, absolutely. And so like the reason that, because I've had times where like when I got sober, for example, I went to rehab and, I obviously I grew up playing sports, but then, I spent years and years in addiction, never working out, never taking care of my body, barely eating. And when I got sober, I got an appetite back and I put on like 50 pounds of fat, right? I was like right now I'm 215 and, I'm in pretty good shape, but there was a time where I was like 245, no muscle. And, in losing all of that weight around the same time that I was getting into real estate, I learned a lot about myself. Pushing yourself to that threshold allows you to increase the threshold, right? Think about, everybody knows how working out works. You break yourself down, you get stronger, you can go a little bit farther the next time. You can lift a little bit more the next time. But for me, so in 2019, I ran over 1,000 miles and I hate running. I trained for a 50-mile ultra marathon and ran it. And throughout that process, I learned a ton about myself and I became a much stronger individual. I became much more controlled in stressful situations, which come up all the time in business, which come up all the time being married, which come up all the time being a father, right? Yes, it is important to feed your body well and to exercise it and take care of it. But also, most people who are watching this right now are ambitious. They want to be successful. They want to achieve more. I promise you, I can say this with certainty, you will never reach the absolute peak that you can in success or in your career without having your body dialed. At Wake Up Wealthy, we break life down into 4 areas: mind, body, spirit, and business. And if your body is not dialed, you will never be as dialed as you could be in business. You show me any successful person who is super overweight, I guarantee you they could be more successful if their body was dialed.
I agree with you 1,000,000% on that. 1,000,000%. And it's hard. We're human beings. Like I love cheesecake. Ain't gonna lie. I love tacos and tortillas. Love them. So what's your tonight food?
Same, dude. And look, like I'm not perfect either. So like I have struggled a ton, and even to this day, sometimes with binge eating, right? I will pound food late, and it is part of my process that I am battling, right? We all have our things that we are working on and we are building. And it's like, dude, you have to control as much as you can, right? Like here at my office right now, I'm having food prepped and laid out for me every time. And so I know that if I set myself up there and do well throughout the day, I'm more likely to not fuck it up at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right. But if I'm kind of going with no plan, just eating whatever and be like, okay, yeah, this seems good. Like you have to take as much outside of your in the moment control as possible. Right. This is why calendars are important. Right. This is why when you look at a calendar and you pre-time block every single minute of your day, you're going to be more effective than if you just woke up and said, hey, let's try to be productive today. You know what I mean? The same thing applies in how you're feeding yourself, in your fitness regimen and in your fitness and health routine. It's like planning leads to wins. Planning leads to wins, right? And so when you're trying to take care of that, dude, it's like, get all of the planning out of the way early. Like I am hiring people to program my fitness, program my nutrition, cook the meals. I'm getting it out of my hands so I can focus on the things that I want to focus on.
And that's a key too. And that's a nice tie in too, when you said calendar, just into work, into our grind, G3 of the G code. So, and that's great. I mean, that's like you're ahead of the curve on a lot of those things in terms of just where, you know, people that go from being a top sales pro to solopreneur to entrepreneur to entrepreneur, whatever the case may be. So what's your day look like? Right now, we already know you got 15 people in your employ, and you know you've got a team assembled, and you're outsourcing some of the important things. So you're kind of making that jump into like that CEO level, right? So you're only focused on those activities. So what's your day look like and your focus? How do you maximize your impact during the workday?
Yeah, so really over the last 6 months, I have jumped into that CEO role and starting to think that way and act that way and structure my day that way, which, like I said earlier, was very different from how it used to be, where like, dude, I was great at just hustling, getting on the phone, closing deals, doing shit. Like, and you know, now it's like, let's take my day today, for example, right? I got up at 4, I was at the gym by 4:30. I came home, I hit the sauna. I have a sauna at my house. I hit the sauna, cold shower, some breath work meditation. And then I went and picked up my meals because it's Monday, that all got prepped. And then I came to the office, took my executive team meeting, took my team meeting, and got aligned with everyone for the week. You know, and so on our team meetings on Mondays, we go through mission, vision, principles of the company, and then I get everybody's action plan for the week. And so we have that stuff open source tracked, so I know where they're heading. We can monitor productivity, and we can see how they're effectively moving projects forward. And then, you know, a good part of my day, or, you know, a couple times a week, I'm doing things like this, making sure that I'm visible to potential prospects, making sure that we are spreading our message, getting it out there. This week in particular, I'm actually taking some sales calls, which I have not done a ton of this year because we have a full 5-person sales team. But we ran a huge Black Friday blast. Calendars were overbooked, and sometimes as a CEO, you got to get right in the fucking trench and get the shit done. And so, you know, I'm probably taking 10 sales calls this week. I'm going to try to close 50, 60, 70K myself and have an awesome week, dude. I'm actually really excited about it because, like I said, I miss sometimes just tearing it up.
You know, it's almost like it's like, oh yes, do you want to run the gauntlet? I challenge thee, right? And it's almost like you're challenging yourself. Stupid will do it too. He's like, well, all right, let me get in here and see if I still got it, you know, and it's that's the kind of leadership that's necessary, but it's also great to work alongside with people like that too, because that's what's required. You're not too good to take out the trash, and you're not too good to, you know, to go wine and dine, right? So I love that you shared that, because that's cool that you're excited. So you're probably gonna hit your goal just because.
Oh, I'll tear it up. I'll tear it up. Like, I like to think I'm pretty lethal there, and I miss that sometimes. Well, because it's something, dude. I've been in thousands of sales conversations, and so it's so automatic for me. Like it's such an artistic thing. Once the reps have come in, you just flow, right? And I am not in that flow, and it's not an artistic thing for me to be a CEO right now because I'm just such a sales guy at heart. And so, like I said earlier, I'm uncomfortable. These are things I'm learning, developing the team, building it out, and making sure that everybody is getting done what they need to. Like I'm on my phase of growth, but for this week, I get to pop in and just do my thing.
To keep yourself razor sharp, are you going to continue to take sales calls, even though it's contradictory to like the role of a CEO?
Well, I think we'll go through phases, and I think there will always be times, a couple times a month, where I want to hop in and show the team that I'm sharp, and that I'm willing to do what I'm asking them to do. But you know, as we grow, like, it's just not pragmatic for me to take calls indefinitely forever, you know, here and there for sure. But it's like, I need to be focusing on higher level projects and moving forward new initiatives. And like this week, I won't be doing any of that. And we have a lot of projects on the plate, but also, you know, me jumping in and taking sales calls, not only like with certainty those things are going to get closed, but it's good for culture. And so it's like, it's a balance of these things, right? Like focusing on culture, showing the team that you're sharp, showing them that you're willing to do the work as well. And then, you know, spending time looking at the high level and moving forward new initiatives. Another thing that we didn't talk about is, you know, we create tons of content here. I create an enormous amount of content, and especially now moving into the new office, building out a full studio. That's a big piece, man. If you're an entrepreneur listening to this, dude, people have to know who you are, and attention online right now is fickle, that you have to be just blasting them.
Yeah, you do. I mean, the attention, I mean, it goes like that. I mean, people are very fluent in their relationships. It's almost transactional in some cases. And it's like everybody's fishing at the same time, you know, but there's 4,000 lines average in the water per every person. And that's a lot of competition. That's a lot of noise. So
Totally.
How do you guys craft your content to really stick out and just go, whoa, you know, how do you make it shine so that somebody picks you out of those 4,000 people?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest. We have a great production team. You know, our lead content guy, his name's Hassan. He is phenomenal at what he does. But you know, I've had a lot of periods where my content, you know, wasn't doing well or didn't seem aligned, and it was when I tried to focus too much on being super strategic and trying to be the one line that stood out. We've seen much better results really speaking and creating at volume from who we are and what we're about and attracting the people that we want. Nothing pays dividends like being your fucking self.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of power in that. So that's the thing. And I think,
well, and it resonates on socials and in content because so many people are trying to be someone that they're not. Like, I hate the word authenticity because it's a buzzword, but it's fucking true. It's true, right? Like what people like about my content is like, they can blatantly tell who I am and what I care about and what I'm passionate about, you know, and it's not always that easy to tell that with a lot of people on social media.
No, it's not, because you get a lot of people that are copycats. They're really good. They're skilled at it. I'm telling you, man, human beings can be very, very good mimics. And I've seen them, I've met them. You've probably seen them and met them. But I know here's one thing that I found in their weak spot, their kryptonite is consistency or lack thereof. And they get tired. You always know who the fakes are because they get tired. They go away. They quit.
Totally.
They want the gold before they do the run. So I love that, man. You're a beast, Brodie. That's all I got to say. And it's like, I feel like an underachiever, not, you know, going to try to run a 50-mile marathon or whatever. So, you know, I think that's pretty awesome. But it's indicative to what's required to in business as well. Every single day, you got to be willing to go back into the trenches if you have to, drag bodies out and do whatever's necessary to keep the wheels turning. Real quick, as we wrap G3, I want to talk about like 3 tools that make your life real easy right now in business.
Yeah, so 3 tools, just softwares in general?
Whatever tools, whatever you deem as tools. You already said calendar, so we'll count that as like the 4th one, but like three resources you use.
Dude, you want to know one thing that has been helping me a lot lately and made me wildly more effective is I actually don't know what the Chrome extension is called, but where you can fast forward videos to like a rapid speed. So over the last 6 months, I've been ramping up the speed in which my brain can, you know, receive information. And so while like YouTube, it only lets you go to like 2x speed. It's like I found this Chrome extension that can now let me go. It'll infinitely speed up. But so now I can listen to things at like 3.5 speed or sometimes 3.75 speed if someone's talking slow, and I can receive all the information, right? And so if I need to consume a piece of content or need to understand something, or I need to review a video that my team has made or a piece of content that they have made, I can do it like that, right? Or a sales call, right? If I'm reviewing a sales call, you speed it up and I'm really getting through it. And so like that's been awesome lately just for my workflow and everything that we're doing. Another thing that I always like to point out is like, so when you look at your habits, right, you have to be tracking the data of what you're doing in order to optimize. And so probably the most important tool that I have is something that we use at Wake Up Wealthy and something that we created for our clients called the mastery metrics. And so it's tracking my personal non-negotiables, my business non-negotiables. There's check boxes for them every single day, as well as like, you know, other metrics that I'm tracking. So I'm tracking like sleep, recovery percentage, you know, all of my macros. I'm tracking how much time I'm meditating, how much time I'm spending doing breath work. And like, so I've got this sheet, they're called my mastery metrics, and they're tracking my data month over month over month. And I've been tracking this shit so consistently for so long that it's like, now I have real trends and real data and insights into my performance. And I can cross-reference that with when I, periods in my year where I felt the most fulfilled, or I was making the most money, or where I was the most present with my family, right? And I can start to intuit and pull key insights out of my personal performance data in order to optimize my life. And I think, and it takes me 2 minutes of checking boxes every single day, and being consistent with it for years has allowed me to really optimize my mental performance game inside of every area of my life. And that's by far the most effective tool that I use.
I love it. I love it. So was that 3? Did we cover all 3? Did we cover the 3?
No, that was 2. And then, dude, I honestly don't know a third right now. Like, there's so many things that we're using, and like part of my deal right now too is we're trying to bring them all together. And like, I'm sure you guys have seen this as you scaled. It's like, kind of right now, I fucking hate tools. Right, like the topic of tools pisses me off, and so we're trying to centralize it all into one tool. When I find that one, I will be sure to let you know. Yeah,
I love it. No, that's great, man. Hey, listen, yeah, and that's the same thing. It's that response that you just gave with the laughing. That's exactly what's required to be able to get through that, because that's it. You go back in, you chop it up, and then you laugh and go, nope, we got to disassemble it and put it back together. So I know you guys will figure it out, man, because that's it's different for everybody, but it's also the same. That process is the same, but the reaction was priceless, because people are just like,
totally.
Ah! It's like, don't say that word. Yeah, tools, shove them up your ass.
Yeah, it's silly stuff that can be triggering, because it's like, dude, like, here we are, we think, we're these smart individuals. And then it's like, and dude, as you grow, like, systems are only built, like, your infrastructure is only built to handle so much scale before you have to rebuild the entire thing. And so then it's like, you have all this data and you're like, I have absolutely no idea how to read this. There's no visibility inside of my business. It's a huge problem.
Yeah, it can be. Well, G4, let's hit the G4. Who's in your group? So we know you got 15 employees, you're married, and like, talk about the people that mean the most in your life that are, like how do you qualify people to be in your group? Like, who's in your group?
Yeah, totally. And so it's like, I have, one unique thing about my business and the life that I live is I built a community of guys who I coach on all, living way of life and defining success the way me and my team see it. And so, yeah, my team is in our group, but also, we have this brotherhood of men who, there's hundreds of, male entrepreneurs in there who are, under 40. They care about the same things. They're on the same habits. They're going through the same content. And so it's like, I lean on a lot of those guys. My father is someone who's very close to me. My wife, is probably the key performance person in my entire life. She keeps me straight and allows me to get there, but it's like, I keep it tight. You know what I mean? Like, it's like my clients, and some of them I'm closer with than others, obviously, my team and some family. And outside of that, there's a couple people, and, part of that was why I joined Apex, is like, I'm looking to get around some people who are at the same caliber and who care about, not only like want to be successful in business, that shit's fucking all over the place, right? But who are also family men, and who are also like, real and down to earth inside of this online space. It's incredibly hard to find people who are just fucking genuine. And Stuman and I had met a couple times, and he always was that to me. And so, the circle's tight, but I'm always open to expanding it, but it's tough to find, and you have to be selective. Otherwise, people come in, people will use you. People are selfish, and I love to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I've been burned tons of times there. And so it's like, dude, circle's important, group's important.
It's very important.
And it's tough to find a solid one, and I feel that I have one, and I'm super grateful for that.
I'm glad you shared that too, because that's it doesn't make you better, and there's nothing wrong with having standards for the people that you're going to be around.
No, I mean, dude, you have to. It is not an option to not have standards.
Yeah, you have to, and I think that's all areas of your life too. And that's I love that, Brodie. I'm glad that you're here too. And I know we went over a little bit, but damn it, when it's flowing, it's flowing. So You hit on some
Yeah.
really hot stuff today, man. And I appreciate you like taking some time to share that and just kind of, you know, be genuine and tell people, like, you know, listen, the game's not over yet. Like, we're still rolling. So it's not impossible.
Totally.
If people want to connect with you, how can they connect with you?
Dude, connect with me on Instagram, Facebook. I'm super accessible. You know, and it's something that we're really focusing on right now too, is like, we've done such a great job of building community inside of our deal, but like not as great of a job as building community outside of it. And so like right now I'm really trying to make myself accessible to people and just provide more value at outside of our client base. And so, dude, you can message me on Instagram. You can message me on Facebook. You can message me on LinkedIn and ask me anything, dude. Talk to me about what you got going on. Like, I will be a listening ear. If you're struggling with addiction, struggling with whatever, like, dude, I will support in any way that I can and point you in the right direction.
I love it, man. Brodie Kern, you're a badass. I think it just leveled up in my intelligence just being here with you today. So thank you, sir. It's another Hot 99 is brought to you by Phone Sites. You can build a landing page or website in 5 minutes or less. Go to phonesites.com. Make sure you connect with Brodie Kern. He's a bad man pajama, and he means it too. That's a genuine dude right there. So thanks again for tuning in. Much love, peace, and tag anybody who needs to see this. Share it wherever you can inside of the group only. You know the rules. Make sure you read the rules. So we appreciate you being here. It's another Hot 99 is brought to you by Phone Sites.